They wanted me to disappear quietly. They wanted me to take my little life, my little apartment, my little dreams, and just vanish. And for a long time I almost did. My name doesn't matter as much as what happened to me. What matters is that I was 26 years old, working as a paralegal in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina, sharing a one-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend of 3 years, and somehow, that was enough for my family to treat me like a stain on the family photo. My mother had 2 daughters, me and my younger sister Serena, and from the time Serena was old enough to wear a ribbon in her hair, everyone in our family decided she was the one worth investing in. Serena was prettier, they said. Serena was more social. Serena knew how to work a room, how to laugh at the right moments, how to make old aunts feel important and uncles feel funny. I was the quiet one, the one who read too much, the one who, according to my mother, made things difficult. I used to think I imagined it. Kids do that, they rewrite history to protect themselves. But I have proof now. I kept the text messages. The morning I told my mother I was engaged, she didn't say congratulations. She said, "To Marcus?" And when I said yes, his name was Marcus, he worked in HVAC, he drove a 10-year-old pickup truck and brought me soup when I was sick and never once made me feel small. She said, "Oh, just that. Oh," like I'd told her I'd adopted a stray. Marcus wasn't wealthy. He made decent money, enough for us to save, enough to pay our bills and take one vacation a year to somewhere within some driving distance. He was good with his hands, good with his word, and he loved me in a way I hadn't known was possible before him. But my family didn't see any of that. What they saw was a used truck and a job that required a tool belt. My cousin Raymond, my Aunt Cecile's son, the one who'd been to 1 semester of business school before dropping out to network, texted me 2 days after our engagement announcement. He said, "No offense, but you could have done better." I screenshot it. I still have it. My mother called the following Saturday. I remember I was folding laundry and Marcus was in the kitchen making omelets. It was a perfectly ordinary Saturday morning, the kind I'd grown to treasure. She called to ask about the wedding date, and somehow within 4 minutes we were talking about venue, and she said, "Just please don't do something embarrassing. Your sister's going to be there." I stood there holding one of Marcus's work socks and said, "What does Serena have to do with my wedding?" "I just mean," my mother said in that voice she used when she was saying something cruel and wanted credit for being diplomatic, "that people will be watching." And comparing what, she didn't answer, she didn't have to. Serena had gotten engaged 6 months before me. Her fiancé, Derek, worked in commercial real estate. He drove a new BMW, he had a membership to a country club in Mooresville, and he wore the kind of watch that people ask about at parties. My mother adored him. My aunt sent a group text to the entire family when Serena and Derek got engaged that said, "God is good!" with 3 exclamation points and a champagne emoji. When Marcus and I got engaged, my aunt sent me a private message that said, "Congrats, sweetie, hope it works out." One message. No exclamation points, no emojis. Marcus saw it. He didn't say anything. He just set his coffee mug down slowly on the counter, nodded once, and went back to his omelet. I think that quiet nod broke my heart more than any of it. We decided on an outdoor wedding. There's a park just outside Davidson with a pavilion and a small pond and weeping willows that go golden in October. It wasn't fancy. We rented white chairs, hired a local caterer who did barbecue and cornbread and sweet tea, and found a bluegrass duo who played beautifully and charged a flat rate of $800. We sent out invitations in August. The date was October 12th. My mother RSVPed. My aunt RSVPed. Raymond RSVPed. My father's sister, Aunt June, that's what we called her, Aunt June. She RSVP'd too and added a handwritten note that said, "So happy for you both." She was the only one who did that. 3 weeks before the wedding, Serena announced her engagement party, a rooftop event at a venue in uptown Charlotte, catered. Open bar. Saturday the 14th, 2 days after my wedding. I thought it was a coincidence. I genuinely thought that. I texted Serena and said, "Hey, just so you know, that's right after our wedding." "Are you sure about the date?" She replied with, "Oh, we already put the deposit down, you know how these venues are." Then she sent a gif of a shrug. The RSVP cancellations started coming in the following week. My aunt called to say she had a prior commitment. My cousin Raymond texted to say he was going to try to make it, which, in our family's language, meant he was not going to make it. My mother called on a Thursday evening, and I was sitting in our car in the parking lot of a Publix because I'd needed to cry somewhere Marcus wouldn't see me, and she said, "Sweetheart, I've been going back and forth about this, and I think I have to be there for Serena's party setup. You know how much she needs me." "My wedding is on the 12th, I said. "The party is on the 14th. "The setup starts early," she said. I sat in that parking lot for 40 minutes after we hung up. Then I went inside, bought a pint of ice cream I didn't eat, drove home, and smiled at Marcus across the kitchen table like everything was fine. He knew it wasn't, he always knew. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat at our kitchen table and I made a list, not of everyone who'd cancelled, not of everything they'd said. I made a list of what I was going to do differently going forward. It was 2 lines long. The first lines said, "Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided." The second line said, "Pay attention to who shows up." The day before the wedding, my mother texted me. "Honey, I know you're upset, but you have to understand Serena really needs family support right now. A rooftop party takes a lot of coordination." I read it 3 times. Then I put my phone face down on the bathroom counter and went to bed. October 12th was cold and clear. The willows were exactly as gold as I'd hoped. Aunt June was there when I arrived, standing at the pavilion entrance in a teal dress, holding a cup of coffee, and she just opened her arms and hugged me without saying a single word. That hug is the thing I remember most about that morning. Marcus's family showed up in full. His mother, Yvette, had made boutonnieres herself out of white dahlias. His brother drove 4 hours from Raleigh. His childhood friend Darius flew in from Phoenix. His coworkers from the HVAC company arrived in a group, cleaned up and grinning, and they moved chairs without being asked and made sure every elderly guest had a place to sit. 43 people came to my wedding, not the 112 who'd been invited. 43. But those 43 people sang and ate and danced to bluegrass in a golden park in October, and I have never, not before, not since, felt so held by a group of people in my life. We'd just finished the first dance when I heard it. It was faint at first, a sound I couldn't place. Low and rhythmic and growing louder. Someone in the crowd looked up, then someone else. Then Yvette grabbed my arm and said, "Baby, look. A helicopter. Black, sleek, descending toward the open field adjacent to the park. Not a news helicopter, not a traffic helicopter. A private helicopter with a company logo on the side I didn't recognize yet but would come to know very well." Marcus was standing very still beside me. His face had gone from surprise to something else. Something I hadn't seen before. "What is that?" I whispered. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out his phone and made one call. He said, "Yeah, you can land." It took me a moment to process what I'd just heard. "Marcus, there are some things I didn't tell you," he said quietly, "not because I was hiding them, because I needed to know you loved me without them." The man who stepped out of that helicopter was Marcus's business partner, a man named Grayson Holt. Not a name from anyone's past, just a name I now associate with the moment my life split into a before and after. He walked across the field in a suit that cost more than my monthly rent, shook Marcus's hand, and then turned to me and said, "I've heard a great deal about you. It's an honor." Marcus's full name, it turned out, was Marcus Theo Winslow. And Marcus Theo Winslow was the co-founder of a supply chain logistics company that had just completed a Series C funding round valued at $480 million. He had 17 patents. He had offices in Charlotte, Atlanta, and Dallas. He had kept all of this quiet, deliberately, carefully, because he'd been burned before by someone who'd loved the number in his bank account more than she'd loved him. He'd spent 3 years watching whether I would stay when there was nothing to stay for except him. I sat down on one of the white folding chairs, just sat down, right there in my wedding dress, and looked at my husband. "You could have told me," I said. "I know," he said, "but then I wouldn't have been sure." Grayson stayed for cake. The Bluegrass duo played an extra hour. Yvette cried so hard her mascara ran into her coffee. Aunt June pulled me aside near the willow trees and said, "That man loves you the way your daddy loved your mama before everything went wrong. Don't you ever let that go." I held her hands and nodded, and didn't trust myself to speak. The photos from that day, the golden light, the pond reflecting the willows, the helicopter sitting in the field behind our first dance, those photos did what photos do when something is genuinely beautiful and genuinely real. A guest posted one to Instagram that evening. By morning, it had 40,000 likes. By the following Tuesday, it had been picked up by 3 lifestyle blogs and a local news segment. The caption on the original post said, "My girl's backyard wedding. The groom surprised everyone, even the bride." My mother saw it Monday morning. I know because she called at 7:43 a.m. I didn't answer. Serena's engagement party was Sunday the 14th. I know because Raymond posted about it. Open bar, rooftop, great views of Uptown. He tagged my mother in a photo where she was laughing in a green dress with a champagne flute raised. She looked happy. I'm glad she looked happy. On Tuesday, I got a text from my aunt. "You should have told us. We would have been there. Can we have lunch?" On Wednesday, Raymond sent a voice note, an actual voice note, saying he felt terrible and that he hoped there were no hard feelings. On Thursday, my mother called 4 times. On Friday, she texted, "I'm your mother. Whatever happened, I love you. Please don't shut me out." I read each message exactly once. That Friday evening, Marcus and I were sitting on our porch. We hadn't moved yet. That came later, the house in Dilworth, the office Grayson insisted Marcus needed, all of that came later. That evening, we were still in our small apartment with the porch barely big enough for 2 chairs, and we were drinking sweet tea and watching the neighborhood go quiet. I picked up my phone and opened the thread with my mother. I looked at everything she'd written since Tuesday. Then I scrolled up, past Monday, past October, past the summer, to the message she'd sent me the Thursday night before my wedding. The one that said Serena needed coordination support. I read it one more time. Then I typed 2 words, "too late." I put the phone face down on the porch railing. Marcus looked over at me. "You good?" he said. I thought about it. The park, the willows, 43 people, Yvette's dahlias, Aunt June's hug, the sound of that helicopter coming over the trees. "Yeah," I said, "I really am." He reached over and took my hand and we sat there until the streetlights came on and I didn't feel small even once.